This episode of Bonus Overdrive Wednesday is sponsored by Moonlight Monster Media, home of Dirt Road Tales of Horror.
From Moonlight Monster Media comes Dustin Grammer's debut as an author. Dirt Road Tales of Horror. Dirt Road Tales of Horror takes you on a terrifying ride through the southeastern United States, where ghosts, murderers, nightmares, and beasts lurk in the shadows, awaiting any brave or unfortunate enough to travel through their nocturnal domain. Prepare to be gripped by fear and fright should you dare decide to traverse these haunted and unhallowed roads.
Tonight, greetings, fellow travelers. As the week reaches its thrilling midpoint, we're broadcasting from the mountains of West Virginia. Embrace the spirit of adventure as you join us on this daring journey through the untamed wilderness of Let's Find Out with Diego. Bonus Overdrive Wednesday.
It's time to find out with Diego. Let's go. Ooh, yeah.
On this episode of Bonus Overdrive Wednesday, we're going to be discussing the very bizarre story of Christopher Thomas Knight, who is known by surviving in the woods of Maine for 27 years. What led this man to take a casual drive to the forest, step outside his vehicle, walk a few steps to take a gander at the woods and decide, why the hell not? All this plus more. But before we begin, I'd like to introduce our two very special guests that will help us make sense of this very wild story. Please welcome to Bonus Overdrive Wednesday, my paranormal brothers from another mother, Thomas Patrick Gormley and Adam the historian ghost hunter. Brothers, the family's back and ready for action. What a rather unusual story we're going to unravel tonight.
Yes. It's odd to say the least. It's thank you for having us on your show, by the way. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. Of course, Thomas, the fucking shrink over here. We never get this. The shamanism is going to be strong with this one. Make sure that charcuterie board's ready, guys.
Yes.
This is an oddball, and I'm a Mainer myself, born and raised, so I could say I'm an oddball too. But this is a weird case. Thomas, you've heard about this guy?
Yeah, I heard about him a little while ago, and this is a good one to dissect because this guy doesn't really meet a lot of the parameters when you really look at it. There's a lot of speculation, but what we talk about tonight, psychology-wise and just what he did, it's going to be a good one.
Absolutely, and it's one of those and you guys can relate because you're both. You guys go on podcasts, and you're a presenter, and you do a lot of research. And a lot of the stuff that what I do is, I can only speak for myself, is I do a lot of editing and recording and booking the guests and everything, one-man band. But a majority of that time I spent here in the studio, I'm watching documentaries. It's like From Dusk Till Dawn. And then this one popped up because it came under, I don't know who did it. It came up under urban legends or myths that turned out to be true. And for the most part, a lot of those things are true. It's just sometimes during the generations, they kind of embellish a little bit and kind of goes into the deep end on its own. This one popped up, and I was like, how does this happen? And we're going to dive into that. But before we get into this could be a great story. I want to mention that this episode has been made possible by our good friend for Moonlight Monster Media, Dustin Grammer, home of Dirt Road Tales of Horror and Steve's Ridge. And right there, I had the book. And Steve's Ridge is actually, I have 2 DVD copies right here. And Adam, I know you've seen Steve's Ridge. Entertaining as hell, isn't it?
I got a signed copy from Dustin when he signed out with me with the Historically Haunted Booking LLC, and I got his book as well signed by him, which I'm almost done. Dirt Road Tales of Horror. No fucking happy endings in any of those tales. Every ending's just like, oh Jesus, is this Creep Show or what? Pretty wild shit. But the movie itself, he plays obviously he film directs it, but he's also an actor in it. And it's just very hope. It's like it's a mockumentary, so it's supposed to be like a documentary, but like a mocking of one in a way. It's almost like a comedy meets thriller. If that makes it's great. It was on Tubi, TUBI for free, which is fantastic. But I actually got a hard copy, which I had in my collection. But Dustin's good people, musician, author, very good dude, man. Fucking funny dude. I was with him set up in Salem with Thomas Patrick Gormley. He was right next to me with his wife. We had the all-star crew right on the lineup there.
Awesome. I'm very jealous. And the movie kind of gave me the Spinal Tap and Best in Show vibes, because it was kind of in that arena. So, and I'm a big fan of both of those movies. And if you are too, you'll love Steve's Ridge, and you'll love reading Dirt Road Tales of Horror, available through Zombie Media, which is the same people that publish my book. So we're not going to talk about that tonight. Let's get to this story, gentlemen.
Congratulations, by the way. Author,
thank you.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just got the box the other day, and the guy dropped it off, and I'm like, the minute you open that, it's like, oh my gosh, did I really do this? But a little bit scared to open it, but it's there, so I can't take it back.
Real quick, all of us, we're all self-driven. Thomas is a promoter / event organizer / tour guide / historian / fucking shaman. Sorry for swearing, but podcaster, serial killer digester. And just I met Thomas. I went off the Warren convention. Mohegan Sun. I got off the elevator. I saw him give me a big hug and brought me a bourbon right at the fucking bar. Friendship for life, right there. Raph, I haven't met you yet, but you're right up there, brother. I got to meet you soon, but you are in it for the right reasons. You guys are self-made, self-promoted. We're machines at what we do. All three of us are entrepreneurs, and I'm not trying to brag, but I'm just saying, man, I'm proud of all of what we've done with little to no help, really. I mean, honestly. But anyway, sorry to cut you off.
No, we're mission-driven,
and me.
And the beautiful part about what you just said is all of us, we support each other almost daily. We're always on the phone, texting each other, no matter what
sharing
project.
Facebook posts. Thomas is a machine. Raph, right
there. Is, man.
Ding, ding, this is the trifecta right here. So
well, we're stuck with each other till the grave. So even afterwards, we're stuck with each other. Yeah. So, gentlemen, we're gonna get right into this, and forgive me because it's 2 paragraphs I'm gonna read. I'll try to get to it rather quickly, but I don't want to step on my words. So here we go. The story of Christopher Thomas Knight, also known as the North Pond Hermit, is a fascinating tale of solitude and survival. So Knight lived in isolation for 27 years in the woods of Maine. I don't know how he did that. Near North Pond, he entered the woods in 1986 at the age of 20 and remained there until his capture in 2013. During his time in the wilderness, Knight survived by committing over 1,000 burglaries, stealing food, clothing, and other necessities from nearby cabins, which equaled out to about 40 a year. He built a hidden camp in a well-drained woodland area, using stolen items to create a makeshift home. And I know despite the harsh winters in Maine, which you guys know about, Adam, we were just talking about that earlier, he managed to survive by staying awake during the coldest parts of these nights. And in order to avoid being discovered, he never lit a fire. So I don't know how he did that. So this story gained widespread attention after his capture, which also led to numerous media reports. And I think it was a book written about him. Also, Adam, you telling me about the book that you read.
Yeah.
So if there were a Hall of Fame of hermits, I think this guy would be the top guy, the swing and dig of it all, because who does it for 27 years other than maybe some monks out in the hemp? But that's a lot easier than
he's the Jeffrey Dahmer of hermits. He's not a serial killer, but he's almost got the same mind as one. Am I right on that, Thomas? It seems like there's something just off.
You're
not using the toilet, not being with a woman, not having a barbecued meal for a holiday for 20-something years. I live in Maine, right? Check this out. I'm in southern Maine with my girls right now. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
No, ice. It's about 12 degrees right now. You imagine living in a fucking tarp between 2 rocks and a tree with no fire? Praying for the spring? Like, mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. I could do that for a year, let alone 27. So
it's weird. It's weird because I really look at it this way: is in his interviews, that's what was said. He breaks into all these places knowing that nobody's there. Because this is the time of the year that people aren't there. A lot of those cabins are for people in the summertime to go fishing, so nobody's there in that winter time. Did he make it up that he stayed outside the whole time, or did he seek refuge in some of these cabins for the night when it got really cold? But it was said that he would wake up in the middle of the night when it was coldest, and he would wander around his campsite trying to build up heat and all that by like walking around really quick. But I know how cold it gets up in Maine. I live in Connecticut. It gets cold enough here. But yeah, a lot more were up where he was at than it does here. So really, how much truth is to that, we'll never know. Only Christopher, Knight really knows, what he did or didn't do. So, but there's question. A lot of people question it, and of course, we're going to question something of a guy staying 27 years out in the middle of the woods of Maine, no matter what the conditions were. So you have to question that. I just don't think it's humanly possible to survive a night of that temperature sometimes. So.
And that's one of the things I want to get into, because it reminded me, I don't know if you guys were fans of King of the Hill, which is one of my favorite shows that was ever. So I was always, of course, it makes sense. I was a big fan of Dale. And I think there was something going on where he went to go live in the woods and he started eating shrooms, or it might have been another character. And then he made best friends with a raccoon or a squirrel. And they had conversations, or it might have been some guy who lived, I don't know what it was, but this kind of gave me the vibes to that. I don't know who he'd be talking about. I mean, who would he be talking to in the woods? There's no conversations from when I looked into a little more research. He might have, I think 3 hunters the whole time just accidentally came and saw him, but I'm sure nothing came of it, and they just went on their way to go hunt. But Adam, well, I'm going to start with you, Adam, because this is kind of in your backyard. And did you almost meet him, or because you were a delivery driver?
I was. I drove for Federal Express in Albion. I've never met him, but I mean, around that time, that North Pond, that's in the Vesselboro area. That's kind of up by, not Palmyra, but Palermo, I believe is what it's called, and is like China, Maine is a China up there. They even have the China Dina, so that's all up there. It's a big thing by Belgrade and stuff. And if he was in those woods, possibly, because I did my route through there and stuff. Albion's very small, 1-horse town, literally one store, blinking light. I mean, and that's no shit. They're not trying to compare. But for those of you that don't know, and of course I've said on my show and stuff, but I was actually homeless and I lived in an RV in Scarborough, Maine for about a year when Heather and I broke up after my mom died. I lost my shit mentally. And it was cold, man. I had a space heater, a little my buddy with propane, and I had a negative 30-degree mummy bag thing and, hand warmers and shit like that. But a couple of times I'd wake up, I'd see my breath and I'd be laying there. My thing would run out of propane. I'm like, fuck, if I go to sleep, am I going to wake up frozen? Am I going to die in my sleep or freezing to death? And that's in an RV with shelter. So it's like, I can't imagine him being out there and then not knowing, and not like we were saying earlier, Ralph, just like someone finding him one day, like a skeleton in a sleeping bag with clothes, would he be dead? Who would fucking know for years and years and years? It's so bizarre. Just the mindset of that. Cause I live 3 hours north of my girlfriend by Bangor, Maine. And I get 4 or 5 days alone, man. I get depressed. I don't have my girl laying with me. If I didn't have my podcast and my Facebook people to talk to, Thomas calls me once in a while, what's up and shit like that. If I didn't have people, dude, I'd go crazy. So after years of no contact with humans, with love, with connection, that's fucking mind-blowing. Sorry, but it is. That's crazy.
I think it's a different mindset. From what I gather is with the neighbors and what they talked about the family, there really wasn't a lot of conversation between his family and the neighbors. They're very quiet. So he had a good childhood, he claims, but he says we didn't have the touchy feelies. So that shows out a red flag for me when you're growing up and there really isn't that emotion like we're talking about. It is emotional not to be able to talk to anybody, but if you're a loner and all, and it came to the point where I really dive into psychologically what this guy might have gone through. Yeah. You got to, I look at it this way, is people that are on the spectrum or Asperger's or anything like that, they're very in tune, but sometimes they pinpoint in on one thing and it becomes like to them a success. Yeah, do we look at living in the woods for 27 years as success? But no, people on the spectrum look at things as a positive that we look at as a negative because we don't understand the way their brain works. But another thing, trying to do research, I got my phone here because I forget certain words sometimes, but, even they've also tried to say schizoid personality disorder. Have you guys ever heard of that?
Yeah.
It's not that he's schizophrenic or anything like that. I'm going to read off what I have here. So just don't mind me. I usually have this stuff memorized, but emotional coldness and detachment. It could be a loneliness and isolation. All right. Difficulty expressing emotions, indifference to praise or criticism, lack of close friends or significant others, preferring solitary activities, fantasies and daydreaming, appear aloof and withdrawn. So you really think about it, they didn't really say this guy had it, but he also, when they questioned him, he had this almost like a thing of entitlement. When you're by yourself, it's almost like during COVID, when we were by ourselves and then we come out of this, it's even driving. People think, well, I belong. This is my road. I've been alone for how long. I come out and everybody drives different. Everybody thinks they have entitlement after being cooped up in their house. So this guy's 27 years by himself and he only has himself to depend on. Does the psychology get to that point where he has entitlement, where I could go in anywhere I want? This is my woods. If your camp is here and you're not there, I'm entitled to whatever's in there.
Yeah.
Whatever my survival takes, neither here nor there. That's something that could happen over a time. But my whole thing is this guy had a normal job, normal upbringing. He goes down south, drives back up to Maine for some reason. Something happened down there that nobody really knows what happened. What triggered him down south when he was down there to drive up, run out of gas, walk out into the woods and live there for 27 years? That's the amazing part to me right there.
Could that possibly be like a heartbreaker kind of thing? Or maybe he may have committed a crime just trying to get away from law enforcement, because back then we're talking, let's say this started in 1986 approximately. Mm-hmm. If you wanted to be off the grid, that's the perfect time to do it, because there is no technology back then that a normal person would have had. I'm sure military or some sort of law enforcement may have had it, but not the common person.
Yeah, but nobody knows. But the thing is this guy had extreme paranoia. Again, we talked about he wouldn't light a fire. He would always make sure that his hair was cut and he was washed off so he didn't look like, somebody in the woods that's been living in the woods. And, he was afraid that somebody would see him and he would get arrested. But, it came to that point where all these years, and it's weird because he got caught at one of these camps, and it was a camp for kids with special needs, is when the forest ranger finally caught him. That's so right. It's just weird that it corresponds with, okay, I'm trying to rob from kids with special needs, and then the forest rangers finally caught me. Is that karma? Was he doing something wrong? I don't know, but he was trying to avoid, and like they said, I think it was out of all those years, he had a run-in with a hiker, a dad and a son fishing that they promised not to say anything because he just wanted to be alone. Those types of things, those near misses. But yeah, the lore of it and what we throw at it and what the reality of it is two different things. And that's what makes it so intriguing and why we're talking about it.
I think he would have got caught sooner than later nowadays, especially with Ring cameras and security cameras being so quick and effective. He would have got one of these cams that would have triggered something. He'd have been done, I think. It's all like you said. It's why 2019, it's like, all right, your luck ran out. 27 years is a good run, but you're done.
Yeah. Well, you're right. You're right, because it's, we're talking like early 80s and all that. There was no internet. Well, in a way there was, but not the way we look at it now, not the social media, not the Ring cameras and all that stuff.
We didn't have cameras on cell phones all the time.
Yeah. On them. Well, it's the same thing. That's why we don't hear about a lot of prolific serial killers anymore, because you can't really get away with it anymore. The DNA, even some of these serial killers from the past are getting caught now because of DNA. Look at the Golden State Killer of D'Angelo, who was a former police officer. He was an old man. No. He finally got caught because there was, family familiar DNA that caught him. But, you can't get away with things. There's cameras everywhere. And, I don't think he would be able to be the hermit he was nowadays. I don't think anybody can. really.
No.
That's what makes it amazing.
Yeah.
And because we were talking earlier, Adam, about the harsh winters in Maine, about the probability of a person not be able to survive. For the listeners of a Bonus Overdrive Wednesday that maybe they don't live in the same state as you. I mean, there are some states, of course, that, I guess if we're talking about Montana or we're talking about Washington State, but we're talking Maine. It's cold as shit up there.
Alaska's
can't relate,
probably, but
yeah, but they're up there.
Yeah.
How are winters there?
Well, like honestly, like even like right now, it's a blizzard down where Heather lives. She lives southern Maine by the belt, by like York, which is like I think America's second or third oldest fucking town. The oldest jail in American history is the York Jail, GAOIL, 1710. It's one still around. The British actually built it. So around here, it's okay because it's still kind of Massachusettsy, but it's by the ocean, which doesn't get hit. So it's cold. Don't get me wrong. But then you go where I live by the end of the Appalachian Trail, by Mount Katahdin, Maine, where the Wendigo is, all that shit. And I swear to God, I'll screenshot it sometimes, send it to you where I live, my little rinky-dink town. I'll wake up, it's -6. My pipes are frozen for a week. No toilet flushing, no showers, no fucking laundry. Oh, yeah, good times. I really made it. Can't even take a shit. Awesome. So, yeah, it was
you can, but
go to work early just so I can use the bathroom at work. You know what I mean? My pipes.
So that's the old saying, is if it's that cold, does Adam shit in the woods?
Does Adam shit in the woods? I'll tell you.
The bear shit in the woods. Is Adam shit in the woods?
I don't give a shit. The key is to raise a little bit above the ice. You don't get hemorrhoids. Just a little bit above the cold, you'll be fine. Yeah, you don't want to get hemorrhoids. Yeah. But I mean, for the most part, dude, winters can be brutal. I mean, I'm not going to lie. There's a town kind of by me called Corinna. And actually, Stephen King filmed part of Graveyard Shift there. He shot in Harmony. There's the Bartlett Yarn Mill. But it did shoot parts of the mill scenes in Corinna when there was a mill there. You can look that up. Yeah. I went to the library there. Check it out real quick. It's a big library. It's a town office, like an 1800s building. And I went to the library this past summer. And the girl's like, I go, oh, yeah, well, I'm kind of a historian, but, I'm a talker, right? She goes, oh, do you want to see our 1800s jail cells in the basement that were used for prisoners? I go, yeah. And she gave me a free tour. I saw these 2 jail cells all cast iron. I got a video of my YouTube channel. But they would hold people there for the train that came by. The train would bring them to Augusta to hold them at the jail. Holy shit. The stuff you do for free just by opening your mouth, so it's worth it. But anyway, with Corinna, the sad part is I believe a 6 or 7-year-old boy froze to death 2 weeks ago. He went outside. His parents couldn't find him. He was playing hide and seek or something, I guess, and they found him dead. He was fucking frozen. So if you can die just from the temperature being that cold, it's hard, man. You know what I mean? And this kid's not in a build, but I'm sure he had a jumpsuit on. I don't know the whole details. I'm sure he had a winter. I saw with hope something on. He was out there for an hour and he froze to death. So you fucking tell me. So this guy stayed in his sleeping bag, literally just piss his pants and not get out for like 2 days straight.
Yeah, it's only warm for 5 seconds anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Did he have no fire? I mean, I don't know. You can insulate all you want.
I firmly believe.
I don't know.
I firmly believe that he would go to these camps and just go in those houses or whatever. Because the thing is, even my experience, my ex-wife her family was from the North Woods of Maine, Portage Lake, up in that area. How cold that gets.
Good old boys, yeah.
And they had the logging trails, and in the wintertime, we'd go up, and her cousins would have all the
That's cool.
We would go,
the Golden Road.
Yeah. You go on the skidoos and all that, and you're going into the woods and stuff, and
you have the little snowmobile cabins, cabins and
exactly.
Shit.
So, but the thing is it's very isolated.
They're not exactly insulated well either. They're just pretty much
no.
But it's enough to keep the wind away. But
yeah, we were out. It was probably about -10. We had the suits on and all that, nice and comfortable, and we're just zooming along on the snowmobile. In there, you never know because the snow is deep, some spots and all that. You don't know. And we dumped that snowmobile and we couldn't get it out. And, cell phones, there's no anybody to call. So we had to walk 2 miles back to town. By the time I got there, I had to carry my ex-wife's cousin because the frostbite on his toes was starting. I was carrying him the last maybe half a mile. I had to pick him up and firemen carry him, trying to get him there and all that. It was scariest. Well, it was the scariest, one of the scariest moments of my life. I still think back about it. I still have that trauma of it. It's like, what if I didn't make it back with him? What if we both died out there? Because it was freaking cold.
Wow.
And, you know, it's, but that tells me, as we're talking about this guy, it's like, I can't fathom how he survived 27 years in that time of the year with the winter. I firmly believe, and I don't care what anybody says, yeah, he walked around. No, I think he would seek shelter in some of these places that he was stealing from. So
even a homeless shelter in town or something. I don't know.
And it makes complete sense to me. Now, this is where the criminal aspect comes into this, or extra criminal aspect, I guess, because with him committing 1,000 burglaries, and which I said was, I didn't do the math. The computer did the math. It's like 40. It would be a 40 some a year or whatever, however that equals out to. I'm one to think that perhaps he might have been doing this before. Mm-hmm. And I think that nobody, and I know it's for survival. You're going to go in there and, you know, steal some ramen, steal some bread, whatever, the bologna, whatever you want to do. But there's something in their mind to talk about the entitlement and the dopamine hits that, you know, from stealing, and I haven't got caught. See, people kind of get addicted to doing that kind of thing, right, Thomas?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you know, once it's that psychosis part of it, I'm getting away with it. I'm just going to keep doing it. It's like gambling. Yeah. You know, you keep gambling, and sooner or later, you know, the pot's going to break out from under you, and that's what happened to this guy. But really, you know, when we talk about he was down south, what was he doing down south and came back to want to go out in the middle of the woods and just be there? Yeah, like you said, was it heartbreak? Was he on the run? I don't know, you know, and really at that time, again, DNA, all that other stuff, whatever he might have left behind, you know, there's so much speculation. You know, yeah, they arrested him, he went to prison, he had a fine, all this other stuff, but, you know, it's crazy. And again, you know, we were talking about, he only came in contact with, supposedly, he said really nobody, but we found out there was about 3 people. What did I say? You know, the hiker, the father and son that were fishing, and the other one was he broke into a place and thought nobody was in there, and there was a guy sleeping, and the guy yelled at him, "Get the hell out of here!" And he ran.
I think I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. So that's his time with people in 27 years, and this whole case dumbfounds me, man. It's like I look at it. Yeah, I could look at it psychologically. But again, I've talked about serial killers. Everybody has their traumas. They show their pattern. But what is the fingerprint that makes people do what they do? And this guy is just an enigma, you know, what really was going on in this guy's head. And I don't think anybody's ever really going to know. Yeah, I could say a schizoid personality disorder, Asperger's, whatever. I could throw all that stuff at it. It makes sense. But is it reality? I don't know. You know, that's what's so hard about it. And that's what makes this such an amazing case and so interesting for people to dive into. And I hope everybody listening really looks further into it after they hear what we talk about.
Yeah. Check out the Maine Hermit. I mean, check it out. There's a book about it. There's stuff about it. If you just Google it, there's so much shit. I mean, I'm sure people have done it on other places, but no one's really ever been known or documented. I guess. I don't know. There's homeless people. I get it, but.
Well, that's what it is.
You know, like which. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, you gotta look at these other cases that nobody knows about. I'm so happy that Raph had us on for this, because we hear about all the same stuff all the time. We hear about the Jeffrey Dahmers. We hear about, you know, the Amityville, any of these big name cases that everybody looks into. But what about those little things? When we learn about these little things like this guy, it shows more about us as a humanity and our personalities and why people do what they do. And I think this helps us, you know, we consider ourselves normal and we look at this guy, but does that teach us life lessons? Yeah. You know, you look into these things, I think you feel more normal, whatever normal is, but, you know, it teaches us that there's so many different people out there. There's so much to learn, and, you know, we never stop learning. And that's why doing an episode like this, people get to see something like this guy. Nobody's heard of this guy. We're talking about it, and people are now that are going to listen to this are going to be like, wow, that's crazy. You know, and I love that stuff. I love reading. I love doing the work. I love doing the research. That's what we are. You know, for me as a paranormal investigator, looking into serial killers, paranormal, and all that, I've been doing the work for 40 years. I do the work. I do the research. I read and all that. This is what I do. I help the living. I help the dead. You know, that's who I am as a person. Nothing complicated about it. But this guy we're talking about is so complicated and so interesting that, I mean, when I was researching into this guy before this episode, I'm like, I don't know what I could really say about this guy. It's so amazing. You know, I don't know how he did it. It's so much speculation on this guy. He's an enigma. Really is.
It's true because it's when I drive to work, I'm always listening to it's threefold. I listen to the weather and news, listen to podcasts because I'm still, even while I'm driving, I'm doing research, and then I ended up listening to music right before I get to work. So in between all this, I listen to these podcasts, and you start listening. Like I just now really rediscovered my love for like the Wild West, right? Mm-hmm. And there's so much material there, and I'm hearing about these outlaws. I mean, they're called outlaws now, but whatever, these outlaws that I've never heard of, and there's so much material on it. I was like, there's so much missing history of our country that, you know, it's just waiting to be rediscovered again. And that's the beauty of that kind of thing. So I'll ask you both, has there anybody that you know about that comes close to this North Pond Hermit, other than like Branch Davidians or survival groups that go out there and they do their things? But we're talking about not a group. We're talking about one person that just decided to say, screw it. I can't think of it.
Well, the only one I could really think about,
Wyatt Earp. I don't know.
The Unabomber.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You know, he was sending these bombs out and all that, and he pretty much left society. He was, an educator and all that. Very intelligent guy, but lived out in this shack out in the woods away from everybody. But he was still intermingling with society. This guy, the Hermit, was not intermingling with anybody. He was trying not to. He was trying to stay away from it. Oh. The Unabomber, yeah, he was away from society, but he was still intermingling with society with the bombs that he sent and his manifestos and things like that. But yeah, it's very hard. There's nobody really to compare to this guy. And I think that's what makes it such an amazing story. I'm dumbfounded by it. And, me being a serial killer guy, but the psychology of things, and I dive really deep. You know me, I'm Mr. Rabbit Hole. And
Rabbit Hole again.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm amazed by it. And I hope people that are listening take the time to read about people like this. Look at the small stories like Ralph's talking about. He does so much research and how things come into him. And we're talking about this stuff right now because he wanted us to talk about it. And he's definitely right. This is the stuff that we need to hear about. This makes us a little more human in the way we look at it. And I think it helps us as a society just to see there's so many different people. We have to be more empathetic to what people are going through. And I think it's important in doing the work, doing the research, and what we're providing on this episode right now. I think it's very important for people to hear that.
Instead of just mindless bullshit or like who fucked over who on some reality show or what some presidential guy's lying about now. I want to know about the will of the human. I want to know that I could actually go out there and possibly live for 10 years without someone helping me or me begging for fucking society's forgiveness or whatever. So you know what? Maybe he's wrong or right, but either way that he did it and he could do it without going, I need to go to a birthday or I need to go get laid or I need to go get that. He did it, man. Yeah. Crazy or not, the fucking guy stronger than most people I know can't go a week without the Wi-Fi being up for an hour. Wi-Fi's out. My electricity. Oh no, Facebook.
No, it's true. I was panicking about 2 hours ago. We have a windstorm and I kept getting a brownout. So like, son of a bitch, if I can't do this podcast today, I'll be very upset. Those are first world problems. There are far worse problems out there. But Adam, let me ask you this question: how close is this area to you? You don't have to tell us where you live, but how close?
Honestly, that's my halfway point. It's you would go by Augusta area. I would usually get off by the Augusta Hospital, which is the Maine capital. That's where the convention is going to be. But that's also where they shot scenes of Thinner, Stephen King's movie in Augusta, and they shot it in Belgrade, Belfast and stuff. Belfast is by Belgrade. You go up there. That's by like China, the China Lake and stuff. That's by like Albion, Benton. Benton is where the Bear Whisperer is. That grizzly guy or something like that.
Yeah. Bear Grylls.
Or someone lives out there.
The bear was, yeah.
Some whisperer dude or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of middle of nowhere. It's a halfway point between me and Heather. Heather lives southern Maine. I live northern Maine. That's probably kind of central-ish. It's not quite Bangor, but it's not quite Portland.
Right. Well, because I was going to ask you.
It's a lot of woods. It's a lot of woods. A lot of woods and ocean.
If we could take this and make it part of your tour, like the North Pond Hermit experience, you can just take some people, drop them off in the woods, and then come back. See, how do you feel?
Fucking Price is Right. I'm willing to go anywhere. You know that.
I think that'd be a great idea. Let's throw them out there for a week in the most coldest part of the winter. And hey, can you survive with this
survival game?
Yeah, you could have like a prize if you make it a week without having a fire or anything like that. We should experiment. Why not?
You get a free sponsorship on my show and Diego's show.
Yeah, you get free tickets to whatever HorrorCon you want.
Yeah. All I could think about is this guy was out there for 27 years. It's like, this guy probably could have went through BUD/S training and been a Navy SEAL. It's that hell week, but he was hell 27 years. How do you do that? Oh my God. This case makes me crazy because I can't figure it. How honest was this guy when they interviewed him? That's the thing that gets me. Does he have that?
Does he believe his own lies?
Well, when you're alone that long, yeah. Can you make it look better than you think? But the thing is, if you want to be alone and nobody bother you, why would you lie about yourself, really, to make yourself look better if you really don't give a crap about what people think by wandering out into the woods and just doing what you do? It's so dumbfounding, and this is where psychology really,
it's bizarre.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I can't put a science on it. This is one of those enigmas. This ranks up there with paranormal. This ranks up there with the fingerprint of a serial killer that nobody knows. That's what I mean.
Most of these guys are rapists or killers. He's just a thief, like a petty thief that just assumed live on his own if he could. He'd go to food banks if he could walk there.
Yeah, but he was paranoid too.
Well, yeah.
He was paranoid that he was going to get caught. If you're paranoid to get caught,
there's a reason.
He did have, when he did get caught, he did have that, oh my God, I was robbing these places. That's where the paranoia comes in. So he did have the right or wrong. Yeah, but still, he felt entitled just to grab whatever he want, but he still had that right or wrong going on too. This guy, he makes no sense.
So bizarre.
It is. That's the crazy case right there.
Hey, guys, I gotta go. I gotta move my car. The guy's here to plow.
You got 15 inches of snow up there. Go ahead, do that, man. See how long you last out
my house. He sent me pictures. I was talking to my house in Bangor. He plowed it. He did my steps too. What a sweetheart.
Yeah.
I just PayPal'd him $20. That's a good deal.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. So actually, we're almost coming to the end of the show anyway. We got pretty much.
Sorry, yeah.
No, you're fine because I know he was arrested, let go, and whatever moral reflections or self-discovery he discovered whatever himself. We're never going to know the true story. At this point, he can tell you whatever he wants to. But we could probably circle back to this later in the year. I found another story for us to discuss too, and I'll talk to you guys offline about it. Yeah. So, Thomas, what are your plans for the rest of the year? I know you got a lot of things going on. You got the podcast. You have these things coming up. Can you share anything?
Killing it.
So, how much longer do we have?
Let's do 5. We got 5 minutes.
Well, next week I have a paranormal investigation that we have patrons coming on. It's the Poltergeist of Prospect Street. So that was sold out a month in advance, so which makes us very happy. All those little things, but we have the Connecticut Paracon coming up in July, and hopefully we might see everybody there, possibly. Maybe
Raph.
Maybe Raph.
Diego.
Possibly, which would be freaking fantastic.
That'd be amazing.
We don't have a date yet, but we want to keep our, the Witches, Connecticut Witch Festival going. That should be in August. I'm talking about the big ones. And the Salem Paracon, that's going to be a big one. But go back to the Connecticut Paracon. This year we're adding true crime.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that are coming to the Connecticut Paracon. We're just waiting to solidify the location, which is pretty much solidified, but we got to make sure we're 100% and sign the contract, and then we could start putting more out there. But the thing that's going to be great about it is having that true crime side of it and all that, and then of course Salem, the horror and paranormal. We got the whole gamut of everything, and the great thing about it is there's so many of the friends and family that are going to be up at the Connecticut Paracon that I'm very excited about. I do a podcast on Mondays, which is serial killers, supernatural, and murderers. And the whole cast from that will be up at the Paracon. My friend Stacia Wills, Kathy Fiketic, we're all part of the National Healing Corporation that we're doing to help everybody. They're going to be there too. So
person else on my show last week.
Yes, we were on talking about it on Adam's show.
Yeah.
So we have all that, but we do psychic fairs and all that. So we're going to have one at Dudleytown Brewery, not near the town of Dudleytown, but named after it, the famous weird city of Connecticut. But yeah, sure. Charles and I got so much stuff going on. It's not that I do with Charles. I do with my friend Stacia as Wardruna, our network healing corporation. My podcast that I do with serial killers. There's so much stuff going on, and just my love for you guys. Anytime you guys need me, I'm always there with you. With Raph, with Adam going on his show. And I was so happy to be able to do the unveiling of Wardruna and what we do on Adam's podcast last week. Stacia right now is in Florida. She just landed probably a few hours ago. She called me, and she'll be putting up the website for Wardruna, the unveiling of it that we talked about on Adam's podcast last week. And there's so much going on, and that's going to flip the paranormal up, because people are going to realize that it's not about what you put online, your evidence and all this other stuff. It's about healing. It's about helping people with their ancestral traumas. It's about, the living and the dead. It's simple. We complicate it too much. Everybody wants to be a superstar in this world. It isn't about that. It's about our conversations, like Raph, Adam. Beautiful. We're talking about this guy from Maine. The craziness of it and the love of it.
That's what I mean.
It's
not the Conjuring House. It's not Lizzie Borden. It's not Amityville. All that's well and good, but let's undig some new shit. And Thomas, you're right. You know what's funny? The paranormal world does need to be shaken up, because there's no room for ego anymore. I'm tired of it. We need the true ones, the pure ones to come through, and that's what we're about. At the end of the day, man, we're getting too over this shit. I don't care. That's not
you're right, man. You're right about that. I dealt with egos long ago. Entertainment, sports entertainment. So, Adam, I know you got to go, and I know your shows is always on 7 p.m. on Thursdays. Is live and unprotected.
Yes. I got
no condoms on Adam's show.
It's pretty. There's whores and cigarette butts everywhere. Forget
the cigarettes. Let's talk about the other ones. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I got Bunny this week. I got Bunny. She's
oh my God. She is so awesome.
She's amazing.
Oh my God, I can't wait to watch that one.
She's a little nervous. She's never done a full show. I said, I'll be gentle, I promise. So it's pretty, you guys know, if you guys are tuning in Historically Haunted Vodcast with a V, it's pretty off the grid. I smoke my weed, I swear, but you know what? You really get me, and I think it's what we're doing now. That's what you guys are about. That's why you were drawn to it.
You got to be real. You got to be real. If you're not real,
stay home.
Yeah. Stay home and don't say nothing.
So I'm doing that. I'm trying to save up to get a tour bus so I can do the tours officially. I've only given 3 tours, 2 to Danny and 1 to Gene Tewksbury. Great people, Danny Perez and the Radicals. But I want to do more. Tom's going to be up in Maine now that his family's up here, so I'll give him a tour probably this summer. Not much. Actually, Heather's going to be doing going through a little bit of a surgery here. She's having major surgery in about a month, so I'm going to take some time off. It's going to be quiet for about a week. I got to take care of my woman. That's just how.
Well, you know, Adam, you could call me if you need any help.
I appreciate that.
We're all together on this.
I mean, just it's touchy. She probably doesn't like me talking about it, but it's
okay. So, you don't need to. We understand, and we're all there for each other.
That's why I love this team. That's why I love the booking agency. I love the people in it.
We have that, our triad here.
Yeah.
We
you
love
guys
each
share
other.
A lot. Yeah,
we do. But not only that, the Salem 8, all of us are very close, and we root for each other. We're always there for each other. And you don't get that in the paranormal, and we stick with those people. And then,
you fucking have to.
Exactly.
Because, and I'll break it down like this: when one wins, we all win. So, gentlemen,
I gotta go.
Coming on the show. Hey, go ahead.
All right, brother. Hey, I love you guys. We'll talk soon, all right? Thomas, I'll talk to you soon. Diego, I'll get you in the week as my co-host in 2 weeks.
All right, brother. Thank you, gentlemen.
See you guys Thursday night at 7 with Bunny.
All content on this broadcast is a property of Diego the Podcaster and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, Diego the Podcaster, or Bonus Overdrive Wednesday. The information shared on Bonus Overdrive Wednesday is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.